Hello and welcome back to the Real Winging It podcast. I'm your host, Ellie Ledwell, and I'm joined by my co-hosts,
Harry McKay.
I'm Mitch Romagna.
So after Imola, we had our first Red Bull 1-2 of
About time.
the season. For a very long time. They didn't have one last year.
Not at all.
Which is kind of surprising.
Surprising me that, Two good drivers.
I don't know. I think because Hamilton and Max were always 1-2.
Yeah. I think it was the second one of the turbo hybrid era. So for a very long time, this has been coming.
That surprised me, actually.
It was. I saw it as a
even with Hamilton and Bars,
Yeah.
they dominated 2 seasons ago. That was
So first wet race, Harry, how did you think it went?
Well, it was better for Red Bull.
Can you get any better?
Yeah, it was an interesting one because it didn't actually rain really at all during the race.
No,
it was just a wet to drying track, which is always, can be exciting. The threat of weather.
The tyre strategies as well. When do you come in for the slick tyres as well? I mean,
that is the best part. And I think up till then, apart from some chaos at the start, that was pretty much... I think the most interesting thing is the tyre change strategy, really. I mean, the rest of it up to that point, apart from some start lap stuff, wasn't that good. I like the end result, how we got there. It wasn't the most interesting race, but it felt like it was better than Australia last week.
Yeah, and there was no DRS for 34 laps. So there was a lot of, at the beginning, people not quite getting past.
Yeah.
And although we want to move to a point where we don't need the DRS and the cars can follow and overtake without it, it did still show that we are not there yet. Mitchell, what did you think of the race?
Definitely improvements. I was mixture feelings being a Mercedes fan. Obviously Hamilton not doing too well, but like I say, George Russell's looking good. He made the car more competitive, I felt.
Yes.
Especially, maybe not like up there, but he was, was it his best finish this season? No, tied, was it?
No,
he's been fourth before.
Yeah.
But he has been consistently 4 races in the top 5.
Yes.
Which is great in that car.
He is very consistent.
He put in a very good result in the wet. It's not been an easy car to drive, I don't think so. In tricky conditions as well, I thought it was a very impressive result coming in at P4.
Like I said, I don't know what they've been doing for Mercedes for like a while though. I thought it'd be better, especially in qualifying.
This is what my dad said. He was like, they've had
I got on from VOD, so
they've had a month to do something. He was like, what are they doing back at the goddamn factory? Because there's been no thanking. Hamilton's not thanked him back in the factory for good reason.
He's been a bit tense as well. There was the him and Toto who looked to be having some stern words with each other. I don't think Hamilton's happy. He said it was the worst car he'd driven since the 2009 McLaren. So some harsh comments.
Statement,
yeah.
I think it sort of maybe it's just luck. I mean, Hamilton had some bad luck in this race, but a part of that was his fault. Russell's in pretty much the same car, and he did better, and he's. You got to take some of that blame. I don't want to. I'm not knocking Hamilton or anything, but I just think he's got to get on top of this, and maybe it's the attitude, especially after last season, a bad start to this season.
Look what Russell's doing, is it?
Yeah,
he's actually getting through.
He's used to a bad car, right? So
after the sprint race, Russell was in 11th, so he started on the grid 11th, and he ended up 4th, which is 7 places, whereas Hamilton only managed to make up 1 place. So I know he got stuck in a DRS chain and he did struggle to get past, but for somebody who has been known for good performances in the wet, why was he not able to deliver in the same way George was this week?
It felt, when I was watching it felt like, he's in this DRS train and he's trying to get past, and where you'd see, some of these other closer overtakes in the midfield before, you have to go for it. You have to have that fire in your driving to go take the riskier lines, be a little bit later on the braking. And I think Hamilton's been so long in the best car, passing people on the straights, passing people with ease because of DRS and with a faster car, that he didn't seem, maybe this is wrong, and if he had tried something, he would have crashed, but when you're in 14th, maybe you take that risk. Maybe you do something, because otherwise...
Even if you do crash out, it's just...
Yeah, I was going to say...
It's better, try.
You're not getting any points either way. Yeah. I think also with the track drying, the racing line was dry, but the outside line was wet, so people were struggling to overtake.
They didn't want to risk it.
They didn't want to risk it.
By the end of the race, he's still doing the same thing. I mean, they were lucky enough to have Nico Rosberg, helping out with commentary. And I love his insight as a recent driver and someone who's gone toe to toe with Lewis and won, which is rare. I think it was really cool, his sort of analysis of that. He didn't seem like that is where Hamilton should be, and he was taking the mickey a bit. I think he made some comment of, and here we see Hamilton trying to pass Gasly for the 20th time, and it was like, that's what it felt like watching it.
It was very repetitive.
I think the fire's gone with it, especially after Abu Dhabi. Like, it must be hard to do it all over again.
It's
especially how much competitive it is.
It's such a demanding sport with your time, and it's physically demanding. It's just, you have to put everything in. But
I struggle with driving normally. To the shop, to Aldi.
Before we even got to the race this week, we had a sprint race. I think I've made it known before that I'm not a fan of them, but they have increased the points this year, so 8 points for the winner through to 1 point for 8th place. Do you think this is too many points, or has it made it more competitive? Is there more worth fighting for now? Harry, what's your thoughts?
I think I said last week it felt like there was no risk taking because you might gain 1 or 2 positions, but when the race starts, you've got another chance, at the starting line to overtake people on lap 1 or people to overtake you. So, if you weren't in the top 3, there's no real points available, so there's no real reason to risk it and throw your car out.
Or even to get have a crash or pick up some damage that then affects you, and then you start even further back or at the back for the race. I think it was always too much risk.
Yeah. I mean, and with this change in points, that seems to have alleviated a bit. You were seeing, a few more cars change place. Not loads, and that might be just the track. But at least there's some incentive there to maybe, push up a place, especially if you've out-qualified where your car should be, so you had really good qualifying. It sort of makes it worth it because you might actually stay in that position for 20 laps, whereas over a whole race, you might not. And
without having to pit, it makes it interesting. You're not having to conserve your tyres as much, and obviously there's not so much fuel on board, so they are going quicker. They're going at the end of the race, you always get the fastest times. You're just getting that part of it, I guess. So I mean, I think it has the potential there, and I hope they do change something else next season and just continue to fiddle with it before ultimately maybe binning it. But it's good to experiment, I think. Mitchell, would you like to see more sprint races next season, or are you over it?
I think they've got to stick with one or the other. I think doing a mixture of both, there's not a fan of. They could do either one or the other and just stick with it. I wouldn't mind if they're all sprint races. I wouldn't mind. But it's because they keep changing in and out. I just think you need to pick one. Because I think sprint races now, you can decide championship. So there's a lot more, pressure going into these, what make it more competitive. So I think that makes it better. But I don't know. I think they've got to pick one or the other by now.
I think also if it so happens to be a sprint race at a track your team does well at, then is that how do they choose them? And if they know that a team is going to be better, is there a bias in that? We all know Ferrari have their hands all over the FIA. Is there some, who knows? Obviously Ferrari didn't do too well this weekend.
No, I was going to say they might have been championing the other way. I think.
You never know how it's going to play out, I guess, whether it's going to rain or how hot it's going to be. But it just seems unfair to have them at only a handful of the races.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're picked, but like I say, I'm sure Ferrari have a good say in it.
I think it's just some of the bigger weekends, because they are doing it for viewership, aren't they? To try and keep people, watching for longer. No one, if you're a casual fan, really watches the Friday practices, but now you sort of have to watch, regular qualifying. So
I agree. You say, I'm sure it's a moneymaker as well.
Yeah. But the teams do get less practice, so they get less of the data coming through. So I guess the quality of racing might not be as good because they don't know how long the stints on certain tyres can be or their actual race pace, the predicted pace. I think having less practice when you're going at 200 miles an hour can be somewhat dangerous.
I think I agree for the most part. I would just counter by saying, that's how maybe, you know, the better engineers, the better teams will shine through if they've got less time to find what works.
They're all in the same boat, I guess. So
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
doesn't make a difference.
But I think overall I do agree that extra practice is needed, you know, just to really figure things out. But
Yeah.
Like picking it, that was an interesting point. Like, which races do you pick? Can I just start seeing? I think I might have been asking you which race the sprint races were, and when you said Italy, Imola, I thought
yeah,
there's
it
no
seems-
surprise.
Yeah,
There's no surprise there now.
Yeah.
But
There was a very big red contingent watching
Yeah.
it. So the race started on lap 1 with a collision between Sainz and Ricciardo, which left Sainz out of the race. This was obviously a very big point for... I mean, it was a good result for Red Bull, but for Ferrari, this is a big swing this weekend has been in the championship because Sainz didn't
I mean, 2
manage to
races in a
register.
row DNF'd.
Yeah.
I mean, that's now, you know, cancelled out 2 of the Red Bulls. 11 points, I think it is, in the Constructors. I mean, you know, having in the first 3 races, you know, Red Bull cars DNF 3 times, that's massive. That's a
Yes.
big catch-up. So, you know, I don't think the Ferraris will be happy with that. That's not...
Yeah, because I'm sure they would have been rubbing their hands gleefully when they saw both of the Red Bulls out in the first race. But now they've had their own problems. They could have capitalised more on this. But as you say, 11 points isn't very many when, you know, Red Bull have been having engine failures. For them, it's just been...
Yeah, it's
I
not
think
their fault, which
yeah.
is the worst part. It doesn't feel fair. Whereas Red Bull, you're like, okay, that was within their control. They could have built a better engine, but, you know, having Ricciardo, who seems to have no luck, or maybe it's just he's past his prime. I don't want to admit that, so I didn't say that. But, you know, I think he took a bit too much of a risk going onto the curb, just slid into him. I don't know, maybe any driver would have tried that, and it was completely out of his control. They felt like no penalty was needed, which seemed fair, but...
In the opening lap, in wet
Yeah.
conditions, it's, you know, not many penalties are going to be dished out unless it's quite a severe crash.
I was going to say, he didn't do a Stroll or a Bottas and go bowling, so...
Yeah,
It was
or
okay.
a David
Strike.
Coulthard. He took out the whole race. But big gains on the first lap from Russell and Norris. I know Norris was able to capitalise on the Sainz-Ricciardo incident, but a very good result for the British guys, and they did manage to hold on to those gains.
Yeah.
The crash did cause a safety car, which was out for 3 laps, which isn't too long, but at the beginning of the race, in a wet race, obviously,
Yeah.
the tyres are cooling, and that's not what anybody
No,
wants.
I don't think well, I think it was maybe as expected, but definitely not wanted or needed, so... Yeah. Not what the drivers were looking for.
No, I don't think anybody likes being stuck behind the safety car, because I imagine when you're in a Formula 1 car, the safety car feels like snail's pace.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
for us, it would be terrified.
Yeah, they always complain about it, especially if they're in the front. It's like,
Yeah.
geez, I want to put my foot down. Like, yeah.
But if the safety car went any faster, it'd topple over.
That is the car going full throttle.
Like, yeah.
Never
So-
seen it stall before. Once you
No.
can.
I think
I'll be
they're
the
better
first to do
drivers
it.
than you, though.
On lap 7, Alonso had to retire with damage they had sustained after another lap 1 incident with Mick Schumacher, which was a real shame because Alpine have been looking all right this season, and I was looking forward to another Ocon-Alonso battle,
Yeah.
but obviously we didn't get to see that this
I
weekend.
mean, L Plan seems to be turning into L Pain. So
Yeah.
it's just one after another. Never really Alonso's fault.
No.
I mean, you could see that on board because Hamilton's trying to overtake him,
Yeah.
and that you see the crack in the carbon fiber, and then it just pop off.
Yeah, on the side pod, it
was,
just...
yeah.
It was quite
Lucky
scary.
yeah.
You could-
Lucky didn't get hit.
Yeah, it felt
Could
like
take someone's head.
You got quite a good look inside. It was quite nice
Yeah.
to see, because it was hollow. I wasn't sure I was expecting inside.
know.
It felt like it was made out of wood.
yeah, it was
like-
it was so flimsy.
Yeah,
Like
I assume that the turbulence that Hamilton's
Yeah,
car
yeah.
caused, it just sucked it right off.
Yeah.
But Alonso started
Good.
the race in 9th.
Good game plan, Hampton there. Overtake him.
Alonso started the race in 9th compared to Ocon in 16th, so he was having a good weekend.
Yeah, I mean, up to that point, yeah, it was really good. So
It's like he's a 2-time world champion.
it's like he is good.
you were
yeah.
the one saying he was past his prime.
Nah, I never said that. No proof.
A younger driver would have kept his car from blowing up. So.
Yes. I blame Hamilton for going past.
But Bottas won that race as one side pod. So.
Because he did keep going, but obviously the aerodynamics made the car too difficult to
And the
control.
damage, I think, is not worth. You don't know what you've broken or...
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
had to retire. So that's another probably sleepless night for Alonso there.
Yeah, it's not going his way at the moment. The track was drying up quite quickly. In between 19 and 20, that's when all the front runners started to pit for slicks onto the mediums from the inters. And there was quite a dangerous release. I watched it and I kind of like winced up. It was just like, when Ocon was released into Hamilton's path. He did end up getting a 5-second penalty. But with so much like technology, how is this still happening?
I don't understand. Every time I see it, I'm like, there's loads of people there watching. They've got all the technology in the world to try and make the system work, and consistently they have unsafe releases. It's just
panic, isn't it? Trying to get your car as fast as
I think so.
possible.
Especially in these conditions or these kind of races where everyone's waiting, pit, one after another.
Yes.
You're going to get this constant stream.
There's like tons, wasn't there?
Yeah, because everyone come in between those laps.
And then the commentators are going crazy. I think it was Crofty just shouting. And like, are people trying to overtake in the pit lane?
Because you
what's
can
going
sometimes,
on?
like if you do a better pit, you know.
No, yeah, you can overtake. But I thought they were actually trying to overtake him. So it sounded like.
They were almost side by side, and
'cause-
when there's so many people there, we've seen it before with the mechanics getting hit. It is so dangerous because even though they're going, I think the pit lane limit's like 80 kilometers an hour. That's still.
If you think about a
very
car,
quick.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
Also, I think me and Rob saw about 4 times on the live stream because it kept going back because they're dodgy stream. So they just kept going back to that bit.
Yeah.
So quite good knowledge on there.
I did think that obviously the driver gets a penalty, but should there be a penalty for the team? Should there be anything more, a fine, or?
Because it's not the driver's fault actually when you think about it.
No.
Obviously it's not, but
I think obviously, the driver is part of the team, and so, and they can, cause serious damage to someone else. So I think a penalty for the driver is good.
I think it.
As unfair that might be, but I think a fine or something just to really hammer home, sort this out.
Yeah.
This isn't, because that really impacted Ocon's race, because they were so close in that DRS train.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, something to kick the team up the backside maybe and say
Max Verstappen got 50,000 grand for touching the car.
just for touching it,
So
they can for this they'll be a hefty fine.
Because it's endangering someone's life,
Yeah.
and you can't besmirch that. They've got to be careful, and obviously it didn't benefit Hamilton either. He got stuck in a DRS train and he just couldn't get past.
I'm not sure that was really just caused by this.
No, I don't think so either. But
because they didn't touch, so there was no damage or anything. I don't think, but not what he wanted for sure.
No, and because it had been a wet race, there was no DRS until lap 34, which is when the stewards deemed it had been dry enough to allow it. And I think it did kind of show how it is still needed to allow overtaking. But when you're stuck in a DRS train, there's no...
Well, because up to that point, there was no DRS. You sort of went, okay, that's why they can't overtake each other.
Yeah.
And it was, it is a hard to overtake at track. So I think that has to come into play a bit. But it did make DRS feel like, wow, okay, we still need this, unfortunately. That is still a big part of why these cars overtake. But then DRS came and nothing changed.
Yeah.
Because they all sort of had it. I mean, it was awful. It was just...
Yeah.
And because not a lot else was going on, it just focused on the same...
Three drivers.
The same corner, Hamilton trying to overtake. The others may have been doing the same thing. I don't know, we couldn't see it.
Yeah.
So...
There was a battle up ahead for second place between Perez and Leclerc, but we didn't get to see a great deal of it.
It was like, you knew that was going on. But it's like, Hamilton goes for the
That's
20th
great.
time.
Just kept sort of showing Lewis. I was like, even though I'm a Mercedes fan, I don't want to see this.
Yeah.
It's just sad.
It was painful, I think, to watch at times, especially with Russell doing so well up ahead. You feel
it makes it
sorry.
worse.
I don't get what Lewis is doing.
I don't think there was
I'm not sure if it's a car. I don't know if it's him.
He's just got to be... He's
So
just
many
gotta
questions.
He's the whole team needs to act like a midfield team now.
Yeah.
They've got to change their strategy. The strategy wasn't there. They lost places during the pits. Because he was, about 11th, I think, and then ended up 14th and then 13th because of Ocon. I mean, that's a big drop just on strategy. There's nothing Hamilton really could have done. So
Strategy's been an issue for a while for Mercedes.
yeah, they've always just because they haven't
Since
needed
last
it. They've had the
season.
speed.
Really, yeah.
Because
Cost Hamilton, really, when you think about it.
as we said, Hamilton only moved up one place the whole race, and Fernando Alonso and Carlos Sainz both started ahead of him.
Yeah.
So realistically, he's
And
lost.
with Ocon's penalty, so he's lost 3 places.
He's lost places.
Yeah.
The result is favourable, but you can't deny he has had a bad race.
Do you think you get rid of Hamilton end of the season?
No.
No.
And I don't know how long he's sticking around for, but no,
Do you think he can go to any other team?
Yes.
probably yeah. I still think he's
Do you think he got a chance of moving somewhere? Like, which team would take him? I know, like, top teams. Obviously not, like,
I think
moving to
they
Williams
have. The top teams will have contract drivers.
Yeah.
that's the thing. I can't
Leclerc
see
and
him.
Sainz have long
Exactly,
contracts.
they're not going to go. Max, Sergio.
I
Can't
don't
imagine
think-
Max and
no.
Hamilton in the same team.
It would only be.
McLaren, maybe? Daniel
I could see McLaren getting rid of Ricardo
and getting Hamilton.
and getting Hamilton, or one of the other sort of lower teams.
But you think Hamilton moved down there?
No, I don't. I think it's. I'm just saying who would take him.
Oh, no, I think a lot of teams would take
Yeah.
him still, apart from the top ones.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
His-
I don't think he will leave. I think this is his last team, and then he'll
Yes,
retire.
I think so.
I think he's going to go around next year.
It's hard to tell where if the Mercedes ends up having a better end to the season than the start, then maybe
Yeah.
he's confident with the development and the growth, and he thinks that there's a car that can actually challenge. But if they're still running around the midfield and the factory isn't showing any signs of producing anything better, why would you, as in my opinion, the greatest racing driver of all time, why would you stay around?
He is.
I don't know. I've always felt that I wouldn't see him as an Alonso or someone.
Raikkonen.
Yeah, Raikkonen. Someone who just sticks in the sport after they're
For the love of the sport.
Yeah, because Alonso still, he's joined Alpine, and he feels like that team can win. I know he's got that drive.
He has a real fight in him.
Yeah, but Raikkonen never had that. He was quite happy to just go around.
Roll,
and,
yeah.
So
as a hobby.
Harry's saying that Hamilton's just doing it for the money. Let's move on.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying
Because all the dislikes.
I never felt he would be okay. I think the fire is in him so much, and that drive to win is in him so much. He wouldn't be okay sitting at the back.
No, I
Yeah.
agree. I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I don't think he'll do it. Like, if he's just sitting back, just
No.
because, like you say, he's just a race, just to race.
Yeah.
I think he wants to win. So
I think if the team improves, you stick it. You go on for another season. If it doesn't, he's got many other things he's passionate about.
Buying Chelsea at the
yeah,
moment
as an Arsenal fan.
as an Arsenal fan. Yeah.
I know he's like his fashion and stuff. Just you've proved you're the
So-
best. Move on.
He
I
also
think
he's,
Chelsea. Sorry.
he's a massive brand, and he brings in a lot of sponsors, but the name Lewis Hamilton is recognised all
Yeah.
over
Oh, yeah.
the world. So he can go and do whatever he wants after this. This is just a platform for him to go on and make his name and then go and do better things.
Yeah.
We know he's passionate about sustainability and equality. He's made a name for himself. Now he can go and make that change. If he doesn't want to be in Formula One anymore, he still has a real impact on the world, not just Formula One fans.
I'm
Okay.
excited to see that. I'd like to see him do something good.
Yeah,
And
like Chelsea's new centre back.
get him on the pitch.
They need a centre back, so
He's a bit old.
how old is he? 38.
36,
36.
37?
I reckon
Thiago Silva's about 36, 37.
But he's a footballer.
Yeah, but like the stamina to sit in a Formula One car.
Yeah.
Surely.
He's fit, isn't
He looks quite a fit guy.
I don't know if he can kick a ball, but
I wouldn't be able to do it. I'd have to jump out and use the loo halfway through.
Yeah. No, they just pee themselves. I don't know.
I don't-
drivers I think have peed
we'll have to
themselves
get
before.
someone on to confirm that.
But we've got Norris on next week. So
Yeah, next week.
I'll let you know.
So on lap 41, Verstappen lapped Hamilton, which did give me a bit of a chuckle because if I was Verstappen, I'd have waved when I was
Yeah.
going past.
I was looking at the plan sheet here and I saw that. I was like, of course.
I liked it.
I thought Harry did it for a minute. I was like, hold on.
In my mind, when the blue flags came up, I was imagining Hamilton in his radio saying, "Oh, blue flags, man! Why aren't these guys moving out of the way?" And it's just, Lewis, that's for you. Max is coming past. It did make me chuckle, but it was also kind of sad because I loved last season because of the fight
And also the way it ended.
and the way it ended. But I didn't brag. I want you to know I could have really rubbed that in, and I didn't. I said you know, Hamilton deserved the win. So
Only because it's going to be taken away.
I did not.
Hamilton's an 8th.
It's all right
time.
because he's going to win it again this year, so you can
He
take
probably
it.
will. No, I think Ferrari win it, but I think
Yeah.
Max
Yeah.
gives it a good shot. Definitely a good shot.
Yeah.
So on lap 50,
I say
some
Ferrari,
of
I mean
the-
Leclerc.
Yeah.
So,
on lap 50, some of the teams start coming into pit again for softer tyres. And Leclerc comes in and Norris overtakes him, which was maybe a bit of an oversight from Ferrari, but they did manage to regain the place.
Yeah.
Perez then has to come in the next lap to cover off the Ferrari strategy. And it was quite interesting because I heard Leclerc on the radio saying about plan D
Yeah.
and how many things had gone through. What was
Yeah.
plans A, B, and C?
Because they said on the radio, Plan D, we're not doing it.
Yes.
And I thought that was come in for another set of tyres.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think the commentators as well agreed that it's too much of a risk. You don't seem to have the pace. You know, you just stick it out, you play it safe, you take the consolation prize of second. And then when they didn't, I was like, this doesn't feel like it's going to work. Perez covers. You know, they've had a couple scraps before, and Perez came out on top. You know, we know Leclerc is a good driver. He's probably a better driver.
But Perez is good at defending. He's
Yeah,
been doing it
that's
for
true,
a
yeah.
long time, and he can defend
Yeah.
and hold up
Yeah.
very well. But
Minister of Defence, his
Yeah.
nickname.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt it was the wrong decision, let
Yeah.
alone the rest of what then happened.
it only took a lap for Leclerc to take back this place from Norris. And then Verstappen comes in on lap 52 to get soft tyres. He's so far in the lead. You know, it's not really... It's a no-brainer, you know, quicker tyres, and he had the pit window. But on lap 54, Leclerc's kind of caught up to Perez. They've been having a bit of a battle, and he hits the curb a bit hard. He goes
'cause
flying.
They had this bit of a scrap, and then Perez, you know, seemed like it's faster, as everyone sort of knew. So then he's, I guess, trying to push to really get within that DRS, and
He just, I think, takes too aggressive of a line. He kind of goes flying over one of the curbs.
Yeah.
And he's in it.
it's
air.
less tyre wear
Yeah.
if you don't touch the track, you know.
It's a good strategy.
Mercedes need one, so...
Yeah. Well, those 2020 Ferrari strategists, they're back, people. You missed them, they're back.
But he, obviously this threw him off. He spun, he hit the barrier, and he had to come into the pits. He was quite near the pits, but he come in for a new front wing and obviously new tyres, which took him down to 9th. So do you think Ferrari were gambling for second, but they should have just cut their losses and been happy with third? Mitchell, what do you think?
No, I think you gotta go for it. I think you're here to race, so I think just go for it.
I think that they,
I guess more the line.
with Sainz out of the race, was the need to push that hard this early in the season?
No, maybe not. But I think as a race driver, he would have wanted to race and just give it everything.
I think it was, you know, I said I think the pitting was wrong. You take second, and then I think pushing that hard was stupid. That's the kind of mistake I said on the sort of season review.
It's all hindsight, though.
Why I said maybe Sainz could do better if they are, you know, I think Leclerc's the better driver, but Leclerc has shown he does make some mistakes.
Last season was littered with errors.
Yeah, and if you want to win a championship, you can't do it. You can't make mistakes.
Especially a tight championship. Yes, Ferrari are a quicker car, and yes, Red Bull do have reliability issues, but Ferrari aren't going to be quicker at every single track.
Yeah,
And
as this has shown.
as this
But
has
we
shown.
could be, if they didn't do it and set up for third, we could be sitting here saying, why did they not go for it?
That's
Well, he was. Oh yeah, third. Sorry, yeah, but no, I think. So, but I said at the time, I think it was stupid. Everyone seemed to agree it was stupid. I don't know.
Their car didn't seem to have the pace to catch up, to
No,
overtake,
exactly.
and to stay in front.
I think
so-
it's worth risking it if you think you can do it, but I don't think it was possible for them to do it. And then you got people in the way.
Misread what Ellie said, so
Yeah.
I'm just thinking I've just got to stick with it now. So
Like, what software, what engineer, who was saying, yeah, let's go for it? What was telling them?
no, I actually agree with that. Especially on the season, I just think.
Yeah.
I just misread the question. I thought about something else.
So at the checkered flag, Leclerc did manage to come back up to 6th, but that was barely a dent compared to the Red Bull 1-2. which I guess
I mean, it's 8 instead of, 18 points would have been somewhere?
15 for third.
15, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, that's a significant point loss, so, yeah. I guess the hindsight comes into it a bit, but not what they would have wanted. I mean, he's still ahead in the championship.
Exactly, he's still winning, he's
26
just got to
points,
move on.
I think, so,
Yeah.
but, that's a lot bigger dent than it had to be.
And in the last few laps, there was a battle going on between Bottas and Russell, but Bottas just couldn't get past him. This is something we've seen from Bottas for quite a while now. He just can't overtake.
Yeah, he's not the
Really?
best
Shock.
in the midfield. And so far, he's in a midfield car and he's doing well. So that sort of slipped my mind. But here, I guess it was the end, you're getting tyre wear. And it's a hard to overtake track. It might not have been just on him, but it definitely felt the car was faster than the
I was
Mercedes.
going to say, he was 5th, so...
Oh, it's an excellent result.
Yeah,
Don't get
It was
me
a
wrong.
great result. He started 7th, got to 5th, but Carlos Sainz started in front of him, as did Daniel Ricciardo. So he didn't really...
He didn't make anything from the start.
Yeah.
He after that, he was still 7th. So he made up places in the race, after that first lap. So, he did very well out of it. He could have done better.
Yeah.
But, I don't want to knock him too hard because it was an excellent
It
result.
was an
When he
excellent
listens to
result.
this, I don't want to destroy his
I
confidence.
can see Mitchell looking at me, giving me the evil eye.
Yeah. Obviously,
Let's
he
go
is...
Bottas coming in here. Comments.
He is partnering with a rookie, but he is continually outclassing him. So I think he is putting in a very, very good performance in that Alfa Romeo.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was going to say, I just want to mention Yuki Tsunoda a little
Yes.
bit because I did say he came alive at the end of last season after just crashing as much as he
Oh, it was
as
terrible.
much as he thought he could.
It's thought of bumper cars.
Yeah, he did. But he said he's quietly toiling away, beat Gasly this time, and we all like
Yeah.
Gasly, so that's pretty good.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I think he's one to watch.
Yeah, Gasly and Tsunoda both made up 5 places during the race, but Tsunoda coming in at 7th, I thought was a cracking result. I think he's probably the most improved driver from last year.
Yeah.
The person who I think's seen the biggest upturn in performance.
Yeah, 100%. He's always been highly rated, even back in F2.
Yeah.
He was always up there competing. But his insurance must be through the roof.
Oh yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I don't think he's even qualifying for it, to be honest. Oh.
So, are we seeing a McLaren turnaround, or is Lando Norris dragging that car to the podium where it may not belong?
I think it is. I think it is
Question,
now a
good
solid
question.
third. Still a good distance behind.
Yes.
But at least in the last 2 races, on par with Mercedes almost. But it's yet to be seen whether this is track related. To the extent that they're better than Mercedes, but it'll be close between those two, I think, for a third and fourth.
I think Ellie wants to say that Norris is carrying that team
Yeah.
to a world championship.
Obviously, Daniel Ricciardo had an accident early on, which led him down last run in 18th. Maybe he picked up more damage than just the front wing. But
he did have damage, yeah.
Lando Norris getting on the podium.
Yeah, I mean...
Who saw that after the first race of the season?
Oh, after the first race.
Who saw that coming?
Yeah.
I wasn't, after the first few, I'm massively
Yeah, but
surprised.
to turn a car around that much.
No,
doesn't
yeah, the
happen,
turn has
does
been
it?
incredible, but last race still competitive.
Yeah. But we're talking about the last 2 races compared to the
It's so-
first 2.
No, yeah, you're talking about first. I'm sorry.
We're
yeah.
only 4 races in, and they've already had such an upturn compared to Mercedes.
I was going to say, why can't
who-
Mercedes not do that?
Yeah.
Mercedes are stagnant.
I think... I don't want to, because maybe they'll turn it around, but their design is so different. And then they're not too far off
was gonna say.
McLaren now, but maybe they need to start thinking...
Side pods, put them on.
Put on some side pods. There's a reason everyone else has them.
I was going to say, the car's bouncing up and down.
Start of the
don't-
race, this should be fully fueled. This should be the least amount of
No,
problems,
yeah.
right? And it was like a
And
seesaw.
Russell's doing backflips pretty much.
Yeah.
It's just so strange.
Yeah. Carlos Sainz, another bad race for him. Is he becoming unreliable in the way that Charles Leclerc was last year? Do Ferrari have a chance at winning if both of their drivers are making mistakes. Obviously, Sainz was
It's not his
hit.
fault. It's not his fault.
Sainz was hit. Yeah.
Give my boy a chance. Like I'm telling you. I said he would beat Leclerc.
So
And now
you've
I
got a
feel
lot
like
of
I have
boys
to-
in this.
Yeah, well, I feel I made these dumb predictions. I have to stand by it.
I think we all made dumb
Well,
predictions.
I've got top 3 drivers were 2 of them were Mercedes.
Well,
Yeah.
I was gonna say if your actual favourite Ricardo was finishing in 18th
Oh,
every
dear.
race, but yours is not doing much
I have
better.
Hamilton, Ricardo, and George.
Yeah.
So it can't be much worse.
No.
But do you think that Sainz could potentially become a liability for Ferrari this year? What do you think, Mitchell?
I like to think not. You
Yeah.
know, he's a great driver. I can't see it wasn't his fault getting taken out. I know
No.
he's been out for the last 2 races, but it's just been bad luck.
Do you think he's struggling to get a grip of the car in the same way Daniel Ricciardo did last year, or do you think he's just been unlucky?
I think the struggle, not as bad as Daniel, but I think there's a bit of struggle there. Just getting to a new car, so there's gonna be a bit of rust. But I'd give him if you want races. I think he'd be
First race
good
of the
for
season, 1-2 Ferrari. I think he's
Yeah,
just
that's
not
a
as
good
good as
point.
Leclerc, but
Yeah.
I think he'll be an absolutely solid number 2.
No, yeah.
And if I'm wrong, that's just another wrong prediction from old Harry McCoy.
I'm just stacking up on
So
this
yeah,
podcast.
basically what I say is wrong. Just
So-
do the math in your head.
Do the opposite of
So-
what you say.
Yeah,
put a bet
that's what
on-
I'm saying.
Put a bet on Sainz DNFing rest
Yeah,
of the
rest
season.
of the season.
So a rookie from last year, Mick Schumacher, we all thought was great, but maybe now, in hindsight, his partner was terrible and he was just okay.
I think he was just okay last season anyway, really, because he did crash a lot,
Yeah.
and he,
He
the
just-
car was terrible, so you let him off, and he was better than Mazepin.
Because he just crashed less than Mazepin. He got away with it.
But I think people probably put that down to a difficult car.
Yeah, the car.
But
Yeah,
Kevin Magnussen,
it's a good driver.
yeah, he's
Yeah,
a good
yeah,
driver.
He is.
He started 8th, come in at 9th, but scoring points, I think, was a very good result. Mick Schumacher starting in 10th, ended up down in 17th.
It just feels like every time he has a better qualifying and he's there, ready to be in the points at the end of the race, something goes wrong, and it doesn't always seem like it's his fault, but there's only so long that can work as an excuse maybe. I still think he can do better than he is doing, but I don't think he'll ever be the greatest.
No.
I'll probably come back to those
You
words.
talking about
and it's
Schumacher?
just-
Yeah.
yeah. I don't. I just he's a
He won,
he's a good driver.
He won F2.
Yeah, he's
I'm
a
not
good
sure if the car
driver.
affected that or not, but
He was in the fastest car, but
was he?
yeah.
That Kyle Iloft, is it?
Callum
Yeah.
Miller.
He came second now, yeah. Well, that season anyway.
Yeah.
For,
I think Mick Schumacher's a good driver,
Yeah,
but
I
Kevin Magnussen obviously coming in with the experience, even though he's been out, he knows how to
no, I'm saying.
drive
Yeah.
in F1, and maybe that'll help Mick develop, but
yeah.
at the moment, underwhelming start, shall we say?
Yeah,
Yeah.
underwhelming start.
What
but
about Zhao Guizhan? Guizhu?
Joe Guan Yu.
Yeah, Joe Guan Yu, sorry. I don't feel like he gets a mention enough.
I think it's because you just butchered his name.
Yeah.
I really was going to go. That's why we never mentioned him. I felt quite bad for him. I was looking at the list. I was like,
I think just because
Oh, yeah.
we like Bottas and we're looking at Bottas,
Yeah.
but he has quietly been doing okay. I mean,
As a rookie.
I hope that gets edited, by the way. I'll redo at the end. and put it in.
as we have talked about Schumacher or Tsunoda, he seems to be doing better, less crashing, more consistent than those two did in their first
Yeah.
season. So
No, I think he's been solid so far.
Yeah, and he did make up 5 positions in this race.
Yeah.
Obviously,
No, yeah.
people obviously crashing out
yeah,
and having incidents or whatever, but I still think he's had as Harry said, a quietly...
No, he's been very
Good start
quiet. But I
to the
think
season.
I think he could be a few years.
yeah, seems solid.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And in a Ferrari, maybe one day, who knows?
Oof, that's a lot of competition for that Ferrari seat.
Yeah.
Lewis
Alright.
Hamilton and Leclerc.
Mitchell, who is your driver of the day?
I could go for. I was first thinking about Russell. I think he deserves a shout. But I'm actually going to go for Alex Albon.
All right.
I think, starting P18. I know
Yeah,
more I think about it, there's a lot of DNFs and all that. But I just think going from 18 to 11, a solid race.
And-
leapfrogged Hamilton, where Hamilton
Yeah.
can do
Yeah,
it.
that was
so-
very impressive. I saw that.
And he was able to hold his ground.
Against
in that,
Williams against Mercedes, sorry. Yeah.
he was able to hold his ground in that position. Gasly didn't get past him, even though he was behind for a long
Yeah.
time. Gasly had DRS, and Albon still
Albon
managed
didn't,
to
right?
hold.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
firmly at the head of the DRS train. So it was
Yeah.
good. It was a long time as well to hold off.
It was.
so-
I'm being
Yeah.
Lewis. I was shocked in the Williams.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
never thought I would say that.
And he obviously didn't get points, but he was very, very close to it.
Yeah,
And
It was-
heartbreakingly
it
close.
was unlucky,
Yeah.
I would say.
he,
But
was-
yeah.
he got his first points. Williams
That's-
only won 1 point,
Yeah.
but 11th, I think,
Yeah.
is still a good result for them.
Yeah, they'll be happy with that.
Yeah.
hmm There's a reason why he was in the Red Bull seat.
So you've
He's
got
talented.
Yeah.
Alex Albon.
Well,
driver
there's a
of
few
the
I
day.
could pick, but if I had to pick one, Alex
Yeah.
Albon.
Harry, what about you?
Lando Norris P3.
Yeah.
Lando Norris P3. Got to be done. But equally George Russell.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mm.
I think both of those really
Yeah.
solid drivers. 2 young British drivers.
It seems a bit biased, but
It was
Yeah.
nice to see the British
We've
flag
picked-
on
It
the
is.
podium.
I was going to say, we've picked about 3 British base,
Yeah,
Albon
Albon's
being
yeah,
half
tie.
British.
Yeah. I'm going Yuki Tsunoda. I just think he's most improved this season, and we go on, especially Mitchell goes on about how much he loves Gasly.
Yeah.
And, comprehensively beating him. I think he did a really, really good job.
Can I just say, with Mitchell's new, with his hair and his beard, he is starting to look a bit like Gasly. I think he's modelling
I've
himself
got
on
him
him.
as my screensaver, so
We'll get a side-by-side of him.
I just don't race for AlphaTauri. That's like
Yeah.
only thing
just a
different.
little
Only
bit,
different.
little
I'll tell you
bit poorer
different.
as well, just a bit, just
Yeah.
a little bit.
Harry, what are your final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Red Bull's back. I can feel it. It's going to be a tight championship from now on. Maybe we'll still be 26 or something points behind, but no more DNFs. Here we
No
go.
more.
That's Harry's prediction.
Mitchell, what are your final thoughts?
Do I actually look like Pierre Gasly?
Do you look like...
Do I actually look like Pierre Gasly?
Don't worry, Mitchell. You're
We're going to get a
don't worry,
side-by-side.
you're nowhere near as attractive. It's fine.
Like, yeah.
Don't panic.
I didn't
We'll
even
get-
remember my day there.
We'll get a
Apart from that, no.
side-by-side, and then people can vote on
Well,
it,
we'll get
alright?
Pierre Gasly in the room. Just
Yeah,
No,
we'll
I
get
meant
him
a
on, don't worry.
photo.
oh,
How are we getting him in the room?
I've got.
He's a big time listener.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a big time. All right then, Pierre Gasly, you're welcome to come on.
After we get Norris on, though.
Yeah.
Yes,
We've got a whole
nice.
queue of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's 20 of them. All right.
Maybe get them all. Maybe we'll get them all at once.
Let's hope that there is a bit closer racing for the remainder of the season. Thank you for listening. I've been your host, Ellie Ledwell.
I've been the eternally wrong Harry McKay.
And I am Pierre Gasly. So.
Thank you.